Hickok 45 here, and I'm going to shoot, but I don't think I have a firearm. I don't feel like I have one. There's no weight in my pocket. Oh, but there's a firearm. Cool. Let's hit a 2-liter as well. Wow, look at him. Oh man. Oh, I did have a firearm, a 22, and it is very light, the 43C. If you're not familiar with that, you will be in a few minutes, because we're going to talk about it, okay? I was not really familiar with it, I have to say. Someone in the audience there, you're out there, you're watching right now, you recommended we do a video with it, and I listened. And like I said, this thing is light. I didn't know I had one in my pocket. It's made of aluminum alloy, almost the entire firearm, other than the trigger and the sleeve of the barrel, okay, and part of the barrel, the outer part is alloy. It's just an aluminum alloy firearm, and you couldn't really do that with a higher caliber, you know, with a 38 special, or you know, about anything. Unless maybe a 25 auto. Because it's 22 long rifle, you can get by with having an alloy cylinder. And that's probably the only J-Frame, Smith & Wesson, or any revolver on the planet, I guess, that has an alloy cylinder is one that would be chambered in 22 long rifle. I don't know if anybody else does that or not. I know there's a lot of lightweight firearms out there. It's kind of the thing, but in 22, you just have more latitude for that. You see it says air light. Air light, it's lighter than air. See, if I just drop it, it might just float to the table. It's almost that light. Weighs 11.5 ounces. All right. So if you've got a big wad, a keychain, it might be almost as heavy as this is. And that's kind of the advantage of it. That's the claim to fame. If you need a really, really light pistol, because look at that. Is that going to be a target revolver? I don't think so. It's a the J-Frame, that's been around since about 1950. They are so popular. They're still very popular. Now, you won't hear a lot of people, maybe promoting them as the only type of firearm to carry or anything, but they are incredibly popular. I still have my 642, brought it out, basically the same firearm except has a steel cylinder and it's in 38 special. And I actually carry this thing still. Over the years, I've had this, I don't know, 15, 20 years, and it does get, and you can tell the wear on it, it does get carried. The holster that I'm using today, pocket holster, that's, I got it out because that's the holster I keep it in. And of course this one fits too, because guess why? They're the same size, J-Frame, under 2-inch barrel. All right, so the big difference between these two, this is the 642, everybody knows about that, I think, is that it's a 22 long rifle, and it has an alloy cylinder, so it's even lighter than that. I mean, it is really light. When I tell you it's light, it's light. You hear people talk about having a firearm in their pocket, and it's just so light they don't know they have it. You really don't. Now, it's not loaded now, but even if it were, what 8 22 long rifle shells weigh, I mean, you literally don't know. You don't. You could do some jogging, and it's just, you don't know it's there. All right, and that's an important characteristic of it, because a lot of people don't want anything to do with a 22, especially for any kind of self-defense, right? So well, let's shoot it again, okay? And let's put some more of this CCI in here. And you could put some stingers in it. I've got some. I don't know if I'll shoot those, but for self-defense, I believe it's fine to shoot those in it, even though they're probably an example of the most powerful 22 long rifle, that you could use. Maybe it's not a 22 Magnum, but you could put some hot 22 long rifles in it. Okay, and then, but before I shoot it though, let me remind you again of the support we get from APMEX. As you can see, the variety of things that they offer at their website is just amazing. Go to the link in our description and just check them out. Bullion, coins, jewelry, everything. They're incredible. They've got it all. They've got it all. So we appreciate their support. The thing that's going to come up with this firearm, of course, and I'll address it. I'll give you my opinion about whether or not this would be a viable defensive firearm, okay? At least what I think about it, my thinking on it. But let's shoot it. Put some more rounds through it. And it's got an excessively large front sight. John and I were joking about that for the video. It has the XS sight, which is excessively large. Well, it's not for most people. It's a great sight. It really shows up. But for target shooting or precision shooting, I'm not a big fan of the XS front sight. But now, as far as pulling out a firearm and, boy, locating that sight in a close-up defensive situation, I think they're fine. They're fine, you know. In fact, it might be the best sight, so I'm not going to trash it. But anyway, look at that. Watch me shoot that thing. Oh, got wet. So if you can hit something, now that, I don't know, what is that, about 10 yards away, messing around. I mean, this thing in both hands, you could pull it up. You know, I just pretty much hit the things I want to hit. Now, I couldn't have lit a match at that distance or any distance, but, you know, it's a really shootable little firearm, even though it's incredibly light, okay? So, there you go. It's maybe we'll try it at the gong. We'll keep you too long. The other reason I wanted to do this is when I got the request for it, someone in a message or a comment, they said, "Won't you do a 43C Smith & Wesson?" I said, "Okay, what's a 43C?" And I looked it up, which I often do when I get a recommendation, something I've not heard of. And so I Googled it and I found it. I thought, don't think I was aware of this firearm. And it is. It's I don't know if it's a best kept secret, but it's kind of a kept secret in a lot of ways. Some of you probably were not familiar with this model of J-Frame, even though these J-Frame Centennial models with concealed hammer are very, very popular. And you go to a gun show or into a large gun shop, and you know there's a whole rack of these things or a shelf of them this firearm that looks like this, put it that way, because you got all these variations of it, you know, the scandium frames and different calibers and all that. But this is one I just wasn't aware of. I knew they made some 22 Magnums. They make I think a 327 and the J-frame, maybe all sorts of things. But just a 22 long rifle with an aluminum alloy cylinder that weighs just 11.5 ounces. I wasn't aware of it, and I right away requested one from Buds. Like I said, you know, sometimes, and I know it's like we ignore recommendations, but it goes into the brain, and then we get more and more of them. Yeah, we must need to do that. A lot of people want to see it. But this one just took one recommendation, really a request, because I wasn't aware of it, and I thought, well, that's pretty neat. I wasn't aware of that. I want to look at that myself, and I thought some of you might be interested in it. So if you are, hang around a minute, okay? We won't keep you too long. So yeah, because I'm a fan of the J-frame, and as I've said before, there's just something about these little revolvers. When you pull it out, you got that trigger pull. You're probably going to hit what you want to hit up close. You know, it's probably not going to malfunction. The round's not going to hang up on the feed ramp. There's no issues with it. Can't work the slide, and it's ready to go, and is pretty safe because the trigger takes a serious pull. And plus you're going to have it in a holster, you know, where you can't get to the trigger. But just because a fly or a wasp, God forbid, lands on that trigger, it's not going to fire. I'm pushing pretty hard on it, okay? So you got to want to pull and fire this thing, or it's not going to fire. But yet it's always ready, okay, if it's loaded. How's that for brilliant? So there's just a lot of attraction to these. If you don't really like revolvers, you think they're stupid, try one sometime. So defensively, I'll just say a few dumb things about that. I think I've not been in a lot of shootouts in my life, and almost none of you have. A few of you might have. But you know, we tend to, I'm going to give the pros, okay, on a firearm like this first. As Jeff Cooper even said, you know, the first rule of a gunfight is have a gun. And And I always come back, I mean, I'm going to have something bigger caliber myself probably, you know, but I always come back to the fact that is somebody going to want to get me, hurt me so badly, or steal something I've got so badly that unless I shoot at them with something bigger than a 22 or pull out something bigger than a 22, they're going to keep coming at me. And if I shoot a 22 into them, I don't like to talk about that sort of thing, but if I shoot them with a 22, they're just going to keep coming because they want my wallet so badly that that's not going to matter. They're going to laugh because I just shot a 22 at them. And you know, in most cases, you look at the statistics and even anecdotal evidence, whatever you want to do. The main thing is have a firearm. Now, I know in other countries, you know, you can't relate to this maybe, but having a firearm is the number one. That gets you to 80–90% of saving your life. A get off me gun, you know, as a lot of people refer to it. You know, 22. Not American, was it the North American Arms, a little thing. Some little thing you can almost not pull a trigger. Having a gun is going to keep people off you if that worst case scenario happens. Okay, so in most cases, having a gun. So having 8 shots of 22, you know, maybe the Stingers, the hottest 22s you can, reliable and whatever. You know, you could do worse. As I always say, it beats a stick. It beats huddling in the corner, not being able to do anything. All right, so. And then if it does misfire, I know 22 is not the most reliable ammo to rimfire. Typically, if you've got good ammo, it works though. And if one misfires with a revolver, you just pull that trigger again. It's not like a semi-auto where, oh, what do I do? You know. So that's kind of the pro side of it. It is a gun, and it's 8 shots, and it weighs nothing, and it's a famously reliable J-frame. Okay, so that's my sales pitch on something like this. The negative side, again, is it is a 22, you know, and it's just as easy for most of us, even if we want to carry a J-frame or a revolver, small revolver, to go ahead and carry a 38 Special, 327, or 357 Magnum. You can get some revolvers that are chambered in 357 Magnum that are not much bigger than this at all, you know, and so you have those options. But then there's a lot of people that are extremely recoil sensitive, and they're not even going to carry a gun. They can't even be convinced to. They shot a 22, but every time they shoot anything bigger, it's just too much recoil. It, you know, scares them. They leave it at home or something, even after they got their carry permit, maybe. So, but maybe they'd be more likely to have this. And again, it's a gun. All right. So anyway, kind of the negatives and positives there, I guess. So I'm not selling them. We're not selling any of these firearms to you. We're just showing them to you. And I just thought maybe you weren't aware of this because I wasn't aware of it. And I hang out a lot in the firearms world, and I just wasn't familiar with this. It's just not a firearm. We'll shoot it again. It's not a firearm that, man, let's go to the range today and get a couple of bricks of 22 ammo, and I'm going to take this to shoot. Well, you might take it and shoot some. Fair amount, but you're probably going to want a longer barrel and, you know, just a nicer target firearm to shoot 22s. So I can't really make an argument that this is a range gun. Although, don't tell anybody, but I'm shooting it on a range. Okay. You know me, anything turns into a range gun, like a Ruger LCP becomes a range gun, even becomes a gong gun, right? Speaking of that, let me throw a couple at the gong. I have noticed in my shooting of it, you got to hold the front sight up. It tends to go low. Should I shoot single action or double action? I guess I'll go double action. All right. I'll put a couple out there. Probably won't hit it. Might not even come close. I think I heard something, maybe. I think maybe I heard one. I probably have another round, so let's put him on that hog. Let's try to put it on his head. Yeah, I got some in the head region. So, I mean, you can hit something if you wanted to with this, and there's no massive recoil. Oh, that's for sure. It's a 22. Even though you can feel a little bit of recoil, because again, how many times have I said it? It's so light. I think if I toss it up in the air, it might not come down. It's that light. So it's got, as I said, it's got a sleeve barrel, but and then the action, of course, is steel. But, and I guess the cylinder latch looks like it's steel, but man, the rest of it is just alloy, and which is fine for a 22. The ejector rod, you know, steel. So as Smith & Wesson and other companies have been doing in recent years, decades, figuring out how to get the weight out of these little firearms. Yeah, some of them they've gone overboard. I think what are those 329? I forget the model numbers. That's one we need to do sometime. The 44 Magnum, 357 Magnums that weigh nothing. Yeah, I've avoided those because that's a lot of recoil for a firearm that weighs about as much as a couple of potato chips to be shooting 357 Magnum, 44 Magnum out of it. But anyway, the 43C, I don't know any other lies to tell you about it. Oh, one lie I didn't tell you about it. It's not cheap. It retails, MSRP is close to 700. You can probably get it for, you know, I don't know, 5.5 or something. You know, so these revolvers, Smith & Wesson, and a lot of them, Ruger, a lot of them they're just kind of expensive. So you'd have to kind of want it. Just because it's light doesn't mean it's $100 or $99. You know, so kind of a specialized firearm. John and I know a little bit about firearms, and we have a lot of firearms, and we're both, just on a personal note, we're impressed with it. You know, John made a comment, man, I might need one of those. You know, I mean, it's a gun, and it's the fact that it's so light. And, you know, if you like to carry in a pocket holster, it's just a highly desirable piece, you know, something you can have and just, you know, just not ever, you know you got it. So, you know what we ought to do, John, though, before we let them go? We got some of these CBs. Let's just shoot these real quick. Y'all have time? Okay, I knew you did. At least a few of you hung around. These little baby bullets, and that's kind of the fun of a 22. There's lots of different sizes. When I was a dumb little kid, like some of you all, instead of a big dumb kid, a dumb big kid like I am now, we used to ride down to the corner grocery market and on the tractor. And when I was like 13, you know, it was kind of fun to go down and get some shorts, 22 shorts. We'd get some 22 longs, maybe some 22 long rifles, and just try them all in like in Dad's pistol, you know, that one I've shown you, that Revelation. And the rifle, you couldn't do that, or semi-automatics. You pretty much had to use long rifle. But these are CB kind of caps. They're about like BBs, and you don't want to shoot a bowling pin with them. It might literally bounce back and hit you. Let's just try that disc there. There we go. There are people who shoot these in their basements. I know. Let's try the cowboy. Ding. Let's see. I ought to shoot one at the gong. Let's try one at the gong. It'd be a miracle. I'll hold above it because it may not even reach that far. Let's try this 2-liter here. This Kentucky 2-liter. It may not go through the plastic. It did. Wow. Impressive. Mr. Cowboy, we're going to finish you off with those. Those are fun. Again, a revolver is so versatile, just like a 357, 38 special. You can shoot a variety of ammo. So, little CBs. So, anyway, the 43C, thought you might be interested. I found it interesting to even learn about it, and it's just another option. It's not an option many of you would probably consider, but some of you might. You might see a place for it. I don't know. You might just want to get into long-range handgun competitions and buy one of these for that, right? Doubt it. Glad you came by, and it's great to have you all here. Appreciate the support. We really do. You all are great people. Life is good.
Oh yeah, that's better. This is a great gun for defense. Oh hey, didn't see you guys there. While I've got you here, I want to remind you of our friends over at Talon Grips and Ballistol. Talon Grips makes grips, can you believe it? For all different types of firearms. You can get rough texture or more of a rubberized texture. It just sticks right on there. You know, really affordable, really cool option to improve the grip for your handguns or rifles. So please check them out at talongungrips.com. You'll be glad you did. And also Ballistol. Dad has been using Ballistol for many years. It's a cleaner and a lubricant, and it's non-toxic. It works really great, and we're happy to have them on board since it's been a part of our shooting endeavor for a very long time. So go to ballistol.com, talongungrips.com, and also while you're out there, I'm juggling all these things here. Also, while you're on the internet, please do check out our other social media like Hickok45 on Facebook. There's also Hickok45 on Twitter, The Real Hickok45 on Instagram. There's a John_Hickok45 on Instagram where I do some things. There's Hickok45.com. You can find us also on Gunstreamer. So check out all that stuff and then watch more videos.